It is time for the underdog. And I mean, you at home, like, I mean, seriously, you probably can make a wild guess who the underdog of all the underdogs is. Probably he's probably the king of all the underdogs at the moment. Let's see, but maybe um, he is not even an underdog. I don't know. Robert, please tell us who's the underdog.
The truth is that I don't know if he should be considered an underdog
Yeah.
at all, but there's only one man at the moment who is making all the headlines, and that is Pang Bo or Peng Bo. I am not really sure how to pronounce his name exactly, but it's China's hidden treasure. He is the man on fire, and we are talking about the World Rapid Teams Championship, which was taking place in Kazakhstan. And I mean, every team consists of 6 players. Now in these team matches, if you compare it with the Olympiad, you bring your strongest squad. Yeah, you bring the 4 best or 6 players of your country. In this World Rapid Teams Championships, it's a bit different. As on 6 boards, you have 4 boards. You can do whatever you want. Basically, you can bring your best players. Then there's one specific female board. And the last board is an amateur board. There are some rating floor to it. I think 2000 is the rating floor, more or less. In any case, you don't know who is going to play there. It can be a young player, it can be an older player. It can also be an unrated player. And these unrated guys, they are just incredibly tricky. You have absolutely no idea what to expect. And I think the opponents of Pang Bo also know now what that exactly means. As Pang Bo is an unrated player from China. I think these guys, they are the most dangerous out there. You don't really know what to expect. And then, you play this tournament, first round, okay, he just wins and he keeps on beating everyone. Yeah, and in the end, at the end of the day, you're wondering who is it? How strong is he really? And well, Pang Bo is a 26-year-old guy.
26.
He is not one of these young guys, and if you look at him, he's a strong physical guy. So you know that he's not a young guy, but you're not really expecting
I
that he is so good.
I especially didn't expect he would be 26. Like 26 is young, obviously,
He
but
is young, but not
it's.
that you would. I
I
mean,
thought like 18.
if I can choose between a 26-year-old or a 10-year-old kid from China, I know what I would take for sure. But yeah, I mean, he just crushed the entire field. Basically, thanks to him, to his efforts, China, a team with 2 world champions, Ding Liren and Wenjun Zhu, they won the silver medal.
Yeah.
He just crushed everyone, and in very nice style. Also, fantastic games, and I've decided to look at one of these games.
And it is fun also. I mean, 26, that, like, this is just a shock for me now. I didn't know that, but there's little knowledge about him, right? So he just probably played chess since a
Yeah,
while, I guess.
yeah. What I read is that he 26-year-old. He started in his childhood, like most of them, but then he played some tournaments in China, which games were not published. He won some,
I see.
probably some smaller events with shorter time control. But he just had he did his studies, probably got a normal job, and I think he was sort of recruited via a friend in university, and that friend was Ni Hua, who is the team captain, very strong grandmaster with who had 2700 at one point. I think he's the national coach of the
Yeah.
Chinese team. Yeah, so this is what makes these team events very special. That you have these extra elements on a specific board, so that yeah, it leads to some more dynamics in the competition. And yeah, let's have a look at one of these games of
Exactly.
Pangbo.
I'm curious now. So one last question. I mean, we were talking a lot, of course, but like one last question. What, like, is anything clear about what his rating could be eventually?
No, well, what I heard actually is that he used to he had some wins against stronger players, like titled players, So I think on the official side, he was mentioned as 1400, which is definitely not the case. I think looking at the way he had been playing, he could be like 21, maybe
Uh-huh.
2200. But okay, this is just based on 11 games I've been following from the Rapid
Of
event.
course.
So it's hard to say. But who knows? Maybe he will. After this event, it feels like he wants to play more, and we will get to see him in stronger events.
Now I'm curious. Let's see about one of his games now against
Yes, he's
2000
playing.
rated.
Yeah, he's playing against one 19-year-old player from Kazakhstan, Alimzan Ayapov, and Pangbo is playing with the black pieces. We are looking at the game from the black side. D4, D5, Bishop F4, London system. And now there are different ways of playing. Usually you get a very solid game. First 10 moves, both sides bring their pieces out. Not much is going on. Pangbo has his own ideas, and that's something I could see in his other games as well. He put a knight on c6, which is considered to be a bit awkward, like you're blocking your c pawn, making it harder for your queen to get out, to exert pressure against the pawn on d4. But his idea is as follows: that after the move e3, now he plays this move f6.
Wow.
Do you see it coming, Arne? Like he's ready to go
Yeah,
e5,
yeah.
right?
That is
Occupy the center
nice.
now. Knight f3, controlling the e5 square one
I-
more time with the knight.
I play kind of a similar system. I play bishop to g4 now.
That is a good move, actually. There's nothing wrong with it, but to be honest, I don't think you're playing in the same way. Pangbo plays way sharper as he goes for this move, g5. Do you play it like that as well, or?
No, but I might consider it now.
Yeah. Well, wait a second. Let's see how good it is. He hits the bishop, so bishop goes back. And now another pawn move, h5, threatening to catch the bishop on g3.
I love it already.
It's very nice. I mean, he's not the inventor of this system. It has been played in the past by some grandmasters, I think, including Morozevich. h3 played so that the bishop can always drop back to h2. Bishop f5 is Pangbo's move. I think a lot of other players, they would even consider to put a knight on h6 to
go
bring
to
it
f5,
around
yeah.
to f5 to hit the bishop on g3 once again. It's a different way of playing. But let's check the game. Bishop f5, c4, e6, knight c3. And here the move bishop b4 played. I mean, it's very unusual position. I'm not saying this is a brilliant system, like you should play this as black, but you get a very unusual type of game. And well, especially at their level, it's fantastic choice. You pose problems to the opponent. White goes for the move rook c1. And now the knight comes to e7. So finally, all these minor pieces are developed. It's just a big difference that all these pawn moves on the king side have been made. So the question is, what is black going to do with his king in the near future? Are you going to castle king side, which looks a bit odd? Gonna castle queen side, but same question is there also for the white king, as we will find out very soon.
True.
a3. Now, okay, you're hitting the bishop, and Pangbo decides to keep the bishop on the board. He goes back to d6, and then you may wonder if instead of that move bishop b4 earlier, he could have gone right away to the d6 square. Anyway, bishop's coming off the board here, and white is making here some moves on the queen side with b4. Perhaps considering to push c5 or b5.
Now the question of where white is going to castle might be even more difficult.
Yeah, actually, that is interesting. Of course, queen side no longer possible.
Yeah, anyway.
a6. So just to prevent any knight b5 or b5 ideas, queen to b3. But it feels also like black has done everything in the opening what he should have done. Like only the king is still there. But castling queenside probably runs into moves like b5 or c5. It's going to be quite dangerous. White is ready to attack on that side. So Pangbo goes for king f7. Just original way of connecting the rooks. And after pawn takes d5, e takes d5, you can see that this queen is in the same line as the black king. So this is looking a bit tricky, perhaps for black. But still, the question is how to proceed. What would you do here with white? Do you have any idea, Arne?
Well, I think I can just take on d5 and then push the bishop to c4, maybe? No,
Well,
that's
if
not
you
working.
do that, there's still the other knight coming to
True.
e7. Yeah, so
There's a
you're
lot
not
of
able
defense.
to
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, maybe push on b5 to get the knight out.
Looks okay.
But there's something better, you say. Tell me, please.
Well, what I found very instructive, and this is something White could have considered earlier, as we are talking about the problem or the potential danger when you're going to castle. Let's say the king is there,
Yeah.
then g4 will come anytime soon,
Yeah.
and the h file will be opened. So what White could consider here is starting with something like h4 to try to close the king side. In fact, if you push g4, then knight can come back to d2. And okay, it's not so simple, but with the pawn still on the h file, potentially it's actually safer to put your king on that wing. This is an idea. Just the move played in the game by White instead of h4 is a serious mistake. It's very tempting move. He played the move e4.
Looked about that too, yeah.
It's tempting, of course, to look at his move to exert pressure against the pawn on d5, and you're hitting the bishop on f5. But how should Black react? Can you do better than Pang Bo? That is the question here.
Yeah, I wonder if you can take with the bishop, then the knight takes, and then the queen goes to e6, and out of a sudden the knight is in.
Oh! If you do that, you take. It's a temporal piece sacrifice. You're trying to regain it now.
Yeah.
With this pin on the e file, but I'm going to trick you here. Bishop d3.
Yeah, that is a trick because I cannot play f5. I can also not take f5 is impossible because of knight takes g5, but
the knight takes indeed. And if you take with the pawn on e4
then
instead,
it's just a queen swap and then
no. Arne.
Oh, now the bishop goes to c4.
Yeah,
sorry.
This is the trick. Yeah, this is a nice way to put Black on the wrong track here. Like you're winning the queen. So,
oopsie.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't take on e4. Pang Bo played here safe move, queen e6. But I want to show you this. You can play here this move, queen f4. With an attack on an unprotected piece. Always look at these unprotected pieces. Yeah, this is my piece of wisdom. And, well, if the rook goes away, then you can take on e4.
True.
And if you take with knight, you take with the queen, you're a pawn up, and the situation in the center stabilizes.
Dire for White.
But okay, it's a rapid game. These things are missed. The game goes on with queen e6, bishop to d3. So the bishop is protecting the pawn, and well, basically you can never take on e4 because of the same trick I've already shown to you. How to proceed? Once you understand that this diagonal is a problem for Black, something like king g7 definitely comes into consideration when you are actually sort of threatening to take on e4. Well, your king is just much safer. But I don't think Pang Bo is thinking about king safety here, at least not at his own. He is trying to go for the kill with the move g4 here.
Ambitious.
Total mess. Yeah, I mean, the pawn on e4 is pinned. You're hitting the knight, and what should White do? I think it's very difficult to navigate this chaos on the board.
True.
Especially as White. I mean, it's not about the objective evaluation. It feels like White is the one who's under pressure here. So what do you think? What are your candidate moves now as White?
Oh dear, that is rough.
It is not simple at all. And to be honest, the best move here is probably not something I would have considered. Just
I mean,
everybody. Yeah.
knight d5, but that has to be calculated. Let's see if that works. Knight d5 and then bishop c4 maybe. But that also doesn't help.
Bishop e4, you mean, or?
So.
But also this knight is hanging. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And you can't
And I
move your
cannot
knight
even
after that
move.
because
No,
your
no.
queen on b3 can be hanging.
Then I don't know. Like knight d2 is of course the most obvious move, but I wonder how good it is.
Look, this is the main point, is that if the knight goes away, like to d2, there's knight takes d4. And the pawn on d4 is no longer defended by the knight on f3. So here black is going to take over. He hits the queen immediately. Of course, also another big point is that taking on g4, inserting this move, is not going to help white at all, because the same problem remains, and black is about to
and more problems
via the h-file. So what did white do is moving the king, just to make the pawn on e4 mobile again. King d2 was played. It's not the best move, but it's understandable. However, apparently you should castle here. And I think this is something I would not have considered at all. Don't ask me why, what is going on. The main point is that if you're going to take on f3, there is pawn takes d5.
Ooh.
With an attack on the queen and the knight. And if you, let's say, take with a knight here, you go, let's say, bishop takes f5, got to take back with the queen, and now you take with a knight on d5 with another problem. Yeah, apparently this is good for white. It's still a total mess. I could also tell you that black is better, and probably everybody would believe me, but yeah. It's a mess, but it's sort of a good mess for white, as the king is relatively safe. Now, if we go back to the game, with a king on d2, your king is not going to be entirely safe. Once the situation clarifies, the king doesn't have that protection of its own pawns any longer. So let's check out what happens here. Pawn takes f3 played. And here, of course, you got to decide again how to take. Like, you want to take the piece back immediately, or you take on d5 with a sort of a double attack. In that case, though, you can just move the queen away. And if you take on c6 with a discover check, then the best way to block it is bishop to e6. And you can see that black's king is safer now than white's. There are sometimes ideas to go queen f4. Of course, queen is hanging, pawn on c6 is hanging. Black is doing absolutely fine here.
Yeah, pawn on d4 is also hanging, just as a matter of fact, too.
Exactly. So white decided to take on f5 with the pawn. And now the queen just goes to d6 to keep the pawn defended, to get out of the e-file, so that white's not going to put a rook on the e-file anytime soon. And the threat is just to take on d4. So if white is careless, let's say takes on f3, knight takes d4, attacking the queen. If the queen goes away, then the queen comes into f4 with check, and the king is in trouble. Like, you can take next on f3, and black takes over.
Nice.
So white played here the move g3 to cover the f4 square, to prevent black from capturing the pawn on g2. But now the center is collapsing. Like, knight takes d4, taking the pawn, hitting the queen. Queen goes away. It went to a2, maybe not the best square. But anyway, position is now actually quite bad for white already. a5 is a nice way of trying to add more pressure to activate a rook. And well, there's no pressure against black's king. The king is absolutely safe here. All the files are closed. Pawn on d5 is well supported. Well, after knight b5, pieces are coming off the board, and black just captured on b4. So you can't recapture with a pawn.
Wow, 7 pawns.
a4 played. Yeah, a lot of pawns now. But still, I think black played here a bit careless, as Pang Bo just captured the pawn on f5, which is tempting. You know, sometimes you cannot stop. You just keep going, grabbing pawns. But the best move here is something like queen b6 to hit the pawn on f2, and you're setting up this threat to take on b5 the bishop, making use of the pawn on a4 being pinned. So this is a double attack, and there is no convenient way of meeting this problem.
This is terrifying. Yeah, this is game over.
Yeah.
I don't see anything.
This is hopeless indeed. So look at this. Now he captured the pawn, but here also you got to think of your own weaknesses as well. Now the knight is unprotected. What is the best move here for white to try to keep fighting here?
Interesting. Let's see. How about... So how can we use this little weakness?
It's like you look at weaknesses indeed. So the knight on f5 is vulnerable, but there's another point in black's position you can target as well.
Yeah, so that requires some calculation. Again, I want to sacrifice again. A rook on c7 check.
Ooh, that's too much.
It is too much. Queen takes d5, and then king goes to
g6,
I don't know,
probably.
g6, and bishop to d3.
Oh, you're doing that, yeah. But probably there's queen c3 check always.
Ugh. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not looking for a brilliant way to save.
I see.
I'm just trying to find the best way to keep fighting.
Well, how about we get our other rook to d1 and try to hide the king?
Not too bad, but it does give black time to consolidate the position. And
I'm so bad today.
You need to be fast. you need to be very fast. And
yeah.
The key move is to play queen c2 with an attack on this knight.
Again, a double attack.
And you're hitting the pawn on c7. And now, once you take on c7, probably you're still worse as you're down a number of pawns. But you do get a bit of piece activity
for sure,
when you enter with a rook on c7. So that's why taking that pawn on f5 was not the most useful thing to do for black. Instead of queen c2, they followed bishop to d3, but now the knight comes in to d4. Rook e1 played, and now the move b3.
Yes.
That's the reason the knight is on d4. Just you're pushing the pawn. Queen is ready to come into b4 probably as well. After queen b2, attacking the knight on d4, there is a rook takes a4, and it's another pawn, and you're defending the knight. I mean, it's completely game over, but we get to see a very nice finish of this this game. So bishop to b1, and everything wins. You can play on the queen side. Pang Bo opens up another front here with the move h4. So let's say if you go away with the pawn, there's always queen f4. The queen comes in and looks also pretty good. Instead, rook e3 played. Pawn takes g3. And if you take back, you probably take with the queen, or you take with the rook on h3. But look at this, rook c e1. White is gonna sacrifice everything. It's like all or nothing. Pawn takes f2, rook e7. Queen takes, rook takes, king takes. So it's position with two rooks against the queen, but black also has something like 6 pawns extra. I'm not sure how much it is.
Yeah, my goodness.
Queen c1, rook c4, preventing the queen from coming into to c7. Queen got to block this this pawn on f2.
It's actually 7 pawns, by the way. Yeah, rook g8 is very
If you take
nasty.
the pawn, there is rook to g2. King e3 played rook g2. So the cute way of protecting your pawns. Bishop to d3. And now look at this. Knight c2 check. The king, I mean, you cannot really take the knight. If you take, there is pawn takes and one of the
and out of a sudden we have 7 queens on the board soon.
Yes, it can go very fast indeed. So king takes f3, knight e1. Check. So you're protecting the rook. King goes away, but now you're pushing your other your pawn. As if you do take the rook, it's a b1 queen. Bishop f5 played, and now look at this. The cutest move of all here is to interfere on the diagonal to neutralize white's defense with rook e4.
Wow, yeah, I just thought about it. because the queen cannot escape from there.
Bishop takes
How
and
evil.
pawn takes, and next move you're going to queen. The reason, I mean, it's not about the b pawn queening. What I liked about this very original configuration is that the queen is sort of trapped on f1 and no longer able to help out in defense.
Mhm.
So this is how Pang Bo crushed his opponents with very enterprising play, and I think he did it in a number of other games. Like he likes to push his pawns, and you know, especially at that sort of level, people get intimidated
Yeah.
when pawns are coming to your king. You feel like, how should I react?
Yeah, it's interesting. That is quite fascinating. So yeah, maybe this is one of the very few times we hear about Pangbo, but he was definitely up for this time now to be the absolute, the probably the king of all underdogs. But then again, it's up to debate. Is he even an underdog? Obviously, that is something to keep in mind.
If he's going to play next time again, he's no longer the
Yeah,
underdog. I mean, everybody knows him now.
Yeah, it was a one-trick pony maybe, but who knows? But a beautiful game, absolutely. It's very, very fun to watch. Yeah, that's it for the Underdog for today. Thank you so much, Robert. We see each other soon enough. Looking forward for the next Underdog. Let's see if we can
All right.
beat the king.
All right.
Bye-bye.